One day, an anxious traveler from a distant land arrived at a bustling town, nestled between towering mountains and meandering rivers in the heart of ancient China. This town was renowned for a wise sage, whose profound wisdom was whispered about in provinces near and far. The traveler had journeyed many days and nights, driven by a compelling desire for the sage's guidance on a matter of the heart. Upon arriving, he approached the sage and asked, "Master, how can one recognize a weak-minded person?" The sage, perceiving the depth of the question and the sincerity of the asker, nodded. He began to tell a story about a distant kingdom and a ruler who had lived many, many moons ago. In a time before ours, the sage began, ruled a monarch who was known for his extravagant court and the richness of his kingdom. However, his rule was marred by uncertainty, and his heart was filled with restlessness. He sought the counsel of astrologers and soothsayers, but found no solace. Unbeknownst to him, he was the embodiment of a weak-minded person manifested through 5 distinct signs. Firstly, the sage began. The ruler was shackled by his past. Like a man trying to walk forward while constantly looking backward, he stumbled through his present and future. He relived his triumphs and failures, allowing them to color his perception and dictate his actions. His time was spent not in ruling his kingdom effectively, but in the shadows of his past glories and defeats. He mistook his remembrance for wisdom, but he was merely reliving, not learning. Secondly, the ruler was lost in the labyrinth of the future. Paralyzed by the myriad possibilities of what might happen, he lived in a state of constant anxiety and indecision. His mind was never at peace, constantly tormented by the shadow of the unknown. He confused anticipation with preparation and worry with responsibility, but all he was doing was letting his imagination cast shadows on his reality. Thirdly, the ruler was extremely susceptible to external influences. He did not trust his own judgment, relying instead on the counsel of his courtiers. His decisions were not a product of his own thought, but an echo of the opinions of others. He was swayed by every whisper and gust of advice that flowed through his court, surrendering his authority to the courtier's words. It was like handing the reins of his chariot to someone else, while he sat helplessly, tossed around by their whims. Fourthly, the ruler was enslaved by his desires and emotions. He gave in to every fleeting passion, every ephemeral feeling, letting them control his actions. He did not distinguish between what he wanted now and what he needed in the long term. His decisions were knee-jerk reactions to his immediate feelings, not considered responses to the situations. His kingdom thus reeled under the weight of his impulsive actions, like a boat adrift in stormy waters, guided only by the caprice of the winds and waves. Lastly, the ruler was not resilient. The smallest setback would dishearten him. He saw challenges not as stepping stones, but as walls, as ends instead of bends. When faced with adversity, he would crumble, surrendering to despair, instead of finding the strength to overcome. His people needed a stalwart leader, but all they had was a ruler who wilted in the face of hardship, like a tree that surrenders to the wind rather than bending and standing tall once more. After a brief pause, the traveler asked, "Master, if these are the signs of a weak mind, how can one guard against them?" The sage, with a gentle smile, replied, "Awareness of these traits is the first step towards guarding against them. To overcome being a prisoner to the past, one must practice mindfulness and live in the present moment. Remember, the past serves as a teacher, not a jailer. For the future, it is wise to plan, but not to be consumed by worry. Anticipate, but do not be paralyzed by the unseen. To resist the pull of external influences, trust in your judgment and develop self-confidence. Counsel can be sought, but the decision must remain your own. As for the unchecked desires and emotions, discipline and self-control are your greatest allies. They will help ensure you are guided by reason and not swept away by fleeting feelings. Finally, resilience can be developed by embracing challenges as opportunities for growth. Remain steadfast and learn to see each adversity as a stepping stone to success. The traveler, with a heart full of gratitude, thanked the sage. He left the town not just with a renewed sense of purpose, but also with the wisdom to navigate his own mind. From then on, he lived with awareness, discipline, resilience, and a focus on the present, ever mindful of the tale of the weak-minded ruler. As the traveler disappeared over the horizon, the sage watched him, a gentle smile of satisfaction playing on his lips. He then turned his gaze towards the setting sun, its crimson rays casting long shadows over the town. He sighed softly, his eyes reflecting the wisdom of ages. Life, he murmured to himself, is a vast, flowing river. Each of us is a vessel navigating its currents. The strength of our mind is our compass, guiding us through calm waters and stormy weather alike. It is our anchor, keeping us steady amidst the roiling waves. It is our sail, harnessing the winds of change to propel us forward. And ultimately, it is our rudder, helping us steer our course and keep our bearings. Our past can weigh us down. Our future can make us lose our course. The opinions of others can misguide us. Unchecked emotions can lead us astray, and lack of resilience can let us drift aimlessly. But by recognizing and addressing these signs, we can prevent our minds from becoming weak. Instead, we strengthen our resolve, cultivating a strong mind that can navigate the grand journey of life with grace and wisdom. With that, the sage rose, casting a final lingering look at the disappearing sun. He then walked back to his dwelling, his silhouette merging with the gathering dusk, leaving behind a wisdom that would echo through the ages.